Welcome on into Ring Chasing, and Ethan, boy, do we have a guest for you. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because that way, if this isn't funny, then I can't hedge anymore. But I would, for my vote, the funniest man in Cleveland, Ohio, Rafa Hernandez-Brito, the voice of the Spanish voice of the Cavs, Guardians, and Browns. He's done Super Bowls, he's done Final Fours, he's done everything, folks. Rafa, how are you doing today?
Hey, man. What's up, Jack? How are you, Ethan? I disagree with you on the funny things. I think Reflog is the funniest dude in the history of Cleveland sports. If you want to, I always tell people from outside of Cleveland, if you want to get the pulse of the Cleveland world in sports, just follow Reflog. And I get to, his sense of humor kind of matches mine in terms of like, I don't know, just the spectrum of it. Except that he can
It's
get
so
away.
crazy how fast
He can get away with a lot more. He can get away with a lot more stuff than I can.
Yeah, no, he's a little more wiggle room to work with than you do. I was gonna say with that, Rafa. So I don't know how much we can make public about this, but we're thinking about concocting a little full court Cleveland burner that we can use if need be every once in a while. Do you think we won't give away the username. People have to do their best to find it. Do you think today is the day we fire off that first tweet?
I don't think it won't be a burner, right, Ethan? If we cannot tell people we're gonna have a burner account, it's supposed to be like we're just gonna blend into the world of X. It's called now, and it's just gonna be. I used to be in the world of sports talk, and I was asked by my boss to be controversial, to be the Spanish Howard Stern, to be, and then eventually after like 2 years of being on the air on Univision and having my show, it was called Sports Madness. They were like, dude, you got to tone it down a little, because in sports radio, it doesn't matter what you say, even nowadays too, but it doesn't matter what you say, you're going to have something, half of the audience in favor, half of the audience against you. And when it comes to football, soccer, and you involve national teams outside of this country, everybody takes their national teams very seriously. So it was easy to just throw salt on wounds with like the Mexicans listening, and I would just say, make bold statements about how, and I still believe this, how Mexico will not win a World Cup in my lifetime, and maybe not in my children's lifetime. And that just statement like that would just blow up the phone and start telling me anti-Mexican and this and that. Oh my God! It's like I have been anti-Mexican, anti-Dominican when I talk about Pedro Martinez or anti-Venezuela.
He pushed over down. What do you want him to do?
But I never ever talk about nationalities of the country. Just talking about sports and the people. But people take it very seriously. So, but nowadays I just talk X's and O's and just like I let Reflog do all the talking.
Yeah, Ethan. So we got into thinking about the burnerverse off of KD's newest round of tweets that went out into the internet, which is a little bit before we started this podcast. Ethan, what do you think? What was your takeaway from the whole KD burner Şengün saga?
Yeah, honestly, it's like these come out like every few months, and there's been multiple versions. Like, I don't even know why he's even using a burner at this point. Like we know all your burners. We know that it's you. Why not just post it on your real account? And you're that vocal about it. Just stand behind it. It is hilarious though that he's very vocal when most NBA players aren't like that.
Rafa, what do you think that like theoretically could do to a locker room, like this kind of stuff getting out? Like how crazy is it that Durant will even consider going down the avenue in the first place? Or do you think it's more common than we think?
Yeah, I think it's insane. I'm totally unaware, and that's how much I want to stay out of trouble. I'm unaware of the latest between him. I didn't even know there was a KD and Şengün kind of thing. I'm sure Booby is on KD's side, the whole University of Hook 'em Horn thing. But I think it's insane because in that case, it is kind of obvious that somebody from the inside is doing the talking or the
100%.
Or the posting. I think what you and I will be able to do is just express our opinion on all the matters that I cannot freely say it because if everybody thinks I'm speaking for everybody when I give my opinion, which is not the case. I always tell, when I visit schools, I always tell kids that the funniest thing I see on social media is when kids put on their profile, opinions are mine. And I'm like, yeah, they're yours until your boss doesn't like them and you lose your job because you said something that doesn't go with the culture of the organization, which I agree completely with that. But I think for Durant, I didn't even know this thing had continued because this is an old story, man. I mean, it's not
Oh yeah.
How long ago was this thing? I mean, when Twitter started, I think it went.
Well, I was gonna say, I think you guys. Oh, you weren't on the episode. That's what it was. So this one of the weeks you were out about like a month ago, probably. I think they talked about the newest update on what was going down with KD. Yeah. But you talked about.
He probably was Nick Pedone doing the show because he liked the gossip stuff and like he's like the TMZ of big play.
The TMZ. he'll love that. Well, I'll make sure he catches a clip of that. So we talked about nationalities a second ago, Rafa, and just like how crazy people get about international competitions, like best on best. Ethan and I are both huge hockey guys. Like obviously the Olympics was so crazy, went down a couple of weeks ago. You're not a massive fan, I've learned, of the World Baseball Classic. Ethan's a fan of the World Baseball Classic. So I just wanted to see where your guys' heads are at, maybe have a meeting of the minds to get in the middle here on the World Baseball Classic.
Hey, listen, the fact that they don't allow players or players are not allowed because the insurance only covers Ohtani's legs and not his arm, and because, there's so many people that cannot participate because the insurance wasn't going to cover it. And even in Puerto Rico, for example, and again, let me tell you something. Playing for your national team is a whole other thing outside of this country. Mm-hmm. There is absolutely no way that a player of the caliber of Steph Curry or LeBron James would even think about not playing in a World Cup, let's say at a soccer level or a hockey level, right? Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I had against the Olympics because they shoot. If they're going to use the NHL players, use them all the time. Obviously, it interferes with the money. Because I don't even know if they stop the season or they continue with the regular season or whatever. But my point with the World Baseball Classic is, first of all, they brought it to Miami because that's where all the Latinos are going to go and fill up the park. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Those are the only people going to the games, and then a few Americans that are going to go watch the game. But the fact that there's not the best players there, because when you take out the U.S. that has all of their players in Major League Baseball. And then it's probably like Dominican Republic that probably has everybody but like 3 or 4. Yeah. And then Venezuela and Puerto Rico. After that, it's like, are we really going to play Italy? Maybe, the Asian countries, but like the Netherlands. And that's when you start getting like, yeah, my uncle dated a girl from Italy, so I can play for the Italy team.
Logan Allen's pitching for Panama.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's great.
How is he related to Panama?
It's a question for Logan Allen if we can get you both on at the same time.
I guess he's been to the Panama Canal when he was part of the U.S.
He went down there one time, so that's enough.
That's the crazy part.
What is it? So, it's him. Festa is on Team Italy, and then
Tugboat's on Canada. Tugboat Wilkinson, the big pitcher.
Yeah, and then Bo Naylor's on Canada too. I think.
Are there any Guardians in the World Baseball Classic? I mean, I hate it so much. I'm not even looking. I didn't even.
So
Jose didn't Jose like not get the starting role or something?
No. So Jose chose to not play because he wanted to focus on the upcoming season, and he got a lot of heat for it. And I mean, I want to say understandably so, but as a Guardians fan, I'm kind of happy that he's preserving himself. So he obviously was asked, and I bet you he probably would have started at third base as well. We were talking about Miami earlier, so they're hosting the World Baseball Classic. They're getting some World Cup games as well. They're going to have the third place game as well. So it's up in Miami there for.
The dangerous part is Colombia is going to be playing in Miami for the World Cup. I don't know if they have covered the entrances on the air conditioning vents. You remember for the final of the Copa America, it was a big match. But again, this is my biggest point why I'm against, because at this time of the year, there's not one pitcher that is ready to go and compete at that level of that you need to win like a final or a semifinal and go 7 innings. You know what I mean? Pitchers, batters, I think they're just going there and taking batting practice like anybody else. You know what I mean? They're going to be taking live pitches in spring training anyway. and they're going to be fielding and everything. Maybe they miss time on doing the drills. That's the only time they work them. But the pitchers, that's really hard. Even though this whole thing was an idea between the players and the MLB, I just don't think they have been able to quite grab a hold of making a tournament that everybody would be interested, of. And I'll tell you how little it means here. When Puerto Rico lost to the U.S. in the finals in Miami, nobody even knew that the U.S. won the World Baseball Classic. Puerto Rico got a parade when they got home, and they won. Remember the year they were all blonde?
Was that when Andrew Jones went up and robbed the home run on Machado?
I don't remember, but there were thousands of people waiting for them at the airport and just so happy about how they had represented the country. And that's the difference between, like playing for your national team here. I don't think there's one national team here that everybody's like, okay, no, I'm playing. If I'm getting called up, I'm there. Nobody, not even in hockey.
It was funny too, because when the Dominican Republic played a scrimmage against the Detroit Tigers 2 days ago, the stadium was juiced. Like, it was absolutely juiced. Like, for just an exhibition within them and the Detroit Tigers is awesome.
Yeah, that's why they brought it to Miami, man, because everybody and their mother goes there and they watch baseball. There's nothing, especially to Caribbean Latinos like Puerto Ricans, Venezuelans, Cubans. With the Cuban thing, it's a big mess. It's a whole side story. Yeah, because the team from Cuba comes, so we're all expecting how many of them are going to defect and leave the hotel in the middle of the night. And then there was a big problem with the media that they showed up to the hotel for the Cuban team, and they were asked to turn in their questions before interviewing the players. Yeah. So it's like a whole angle. And the fact that they're in Miami, it's just like a sideshow of what's going on. But I just don't, as a baseball fan, I love baseball.
Oh yeah,
I don't get really like. Up for it, like, oh my God, I can't wait to see, because do I really want to see Dominican Republic against the Netherlands or Mike Piazza coaching?
He will get Mike Piazza coaching. That is the one thing you'll get.
Yeah, but it's not really like my cup of tea. I rather watch hockey games, even if it's two teams that I don't root for, than watch a World Baseball Classic. It's not my thing.
I get you.
Ethan, you want to hit one?
Yeah, so mine might have been a little off topic here, but it might
I love that.
Different from where
that's the best way to
go. So I saw too. So my background specifically too with sports is college basketball. So I saw that you did a little bit of stuff with St. John. So my question to you is, I've heard a lot of differing takes with St. John's Arena. Isn't it Carnesica?
Alumni Hall.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts, having done some St. John's basketball games or the Johnnies there? Because I know they bounce with MSG too.
Yeah, they play a lot at MSG, but a lot of the Big East teams play at MSG. Sometimes maybe if it's St. John's, Connecticut for the Big East tournament, it's a Connecticut home game, because Connecticut people travel a lot.
Yeah,
Syracuse people travel a ton. And this is, again, I do the Final Four. It's going to be my 9th coming up next month. And the first thing I do is go back and look at what teams are in what conferences, because I have no freaking clue.
It's so crazy now.
The Big East is not the Big East that it used to be when I started. When I started in the Big East, it was Luca Neseca coaching St. John's. It was Thompson coaching Georgetown. It was Rolly Massimino with Villanova. It was, what's his name? Piggio Carlesimo was with Seton Hall. And there was somebody else before him. And it was like the Catholic school league back in the day. And now it's like, I couldn't tell you who's in there. But alumni, the campus arena is not as it's not as tight or as cool as like Cameron Indoors or whatever it's called now, the Coach K field or court, whatever. It's not as iconic as that, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of similar to where Indiana Hoosiers play on campus. Yep. It's like it's a box. It's not really. I'm pretty sure here in Cleveland there are some high schools that have better gyms that some of those universities. But St. John's plays, especially now with Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino likes the lights and
he does.
He's gonna be at MSG as much as he can, because that's what the big cameras are going to be.
So Ralph, I wanted to ask you too. So you've gotten the chance to call Final Fours, Super Bowls, like basically like when you sit down as a 5-year-old and you're like, hey, I want to be a broadcaster. What events do I want to call? You've gotten the chance to call most of them, right? What is your favorite call that you've made?
Apart from the Game 7, Kyrie Irving 3-point shot over Curry, because there was actually became my license, but it was a big long see that came out of my mouth, and the biggest reason was because right before that bucket, it was probably the worst 3 minutes of basketball ever played at any level, including the kindergarten basketball. It was just so bad. If you go back and look at that video when it's the moment it became tied at 89, it was just so really bad. So aside for that one, I have had the luck to call some really, really like iconic plays, like the 99-yard touchdown reception by James Harrison right before halftime in Tampa against the Steelers against Arizona.
Kurt Warner.
And if you look at that play, Kurt Warner was looking for what's his name, Fitzgerald,
Larry,
and Larry Fitzgerald almost caught Harrison, but he bumped one of his teammates on the sideline because he ran out of bounds. And if he hadn't gotten stopped by that, I think he would have caught James Harrison. But I caught the helmet catch in Arizona when the Giants beat
Tyree.
They beat Tyree, and it's a really cool story about that because when you prepare for a game, you kind of like Plaxico Burress and Michael Strahan and Eli Manning. I had 25 things for each guy, but when I go, I do first offense, then I do defense, then I do special teams, and I always try to have something about every player. And David Tyree, I really had nothing. He had 2 catches that year. And a couple of tackles, and it was just so lucky that I even forget what he went to school, but that's what came out of my mouth when he made the catch. It was just such an iconic play, and then the little over the shoulder pass to Plaxico Burress to put the 1 on the cheating Patriots that year. I had I saw Eli won his first Super Bowl, Peyton won his first Super Bowl, Drew Brees win his first Super Bowl. I saw Tom Brady win his 3, 4, 5, 6, like almost all of them. But it was on the football side, the Ben Roethlisberger, and I'm sorry, Cleveland fans, the Ben Roethlisberger pass to Santonio Holmes.
So crazy.
That was the first time I was ever on ESPN. They used my call on the top 10 plays, and that was the number 1 play.
Wow.
And people forget that before that throw to the right corner, he tried the same play on the left, and he missed him by like a little bit. And then in the next play, he threw it to the other side and got Plaxico Burress. But then in the Final Four,
did you call the buzzer beater Villanova one?
I called. I did. That was the next year.
Oh, last year you didn't call.
And I did the Jalen Suggs during the pandemic when he put UCLA away from half court. Mm-hmm. The first time he came to play with the Magic, I played in the area. He's like, "Please send it to me," because everybody was going crazy. There's a dude that plays, and it's kind of cool because he puts all the highlights of, like, if there's a buzzer beater, he puts all the calls from like everybody doing the game. And that year, because of the pandemic, there was a lot of people, not in the stadium at Lucas Oil Stadium, and I don't plan on what I'm gonna say. Those moments happen, and you're ready. So I just said, 12 o'clock. Cinderella just hit the clock, just snapped 12 o'clock for Cinderella. Buenas noches, UCLA, and everybody went crazy. The thing went viral, and all the UCLA fans cursing me out, and all the Gonzaga fans just loving the fact that I said, like, good night, UCLA, buenas noches, UCLA. Everybody, you don't have to know Spanish to know what buenas noches is. But I saw, a lot of plays, Virginia winning in overtime after being eliminated.
Oh, I forgot about that.
In the first round with a lot of ex-Cavaliers, with Ty Jerome,
and DeAndre,
Kyle Guy, and Andrew Hunter were in that team. So,
Rafa, I gotta say the best call, and I hate to correct you on your own best call. Your best call has to be the Feliz Navidad. That is my favorite.
I was just going by sports. In baseball is that is the story about that one is the funny, I got home and I was so wired after that game because remember that after that, David Fry won it in extra innings. And I almost jumped off my seat and almost came out of the booth because I was just, I was like, oh, and I came home and I don't know, it was like 2:30 in the morning and I was still up and my phone rang and it was somebody from the New York Times asking me if they could use my call. I'm like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And then I'm like, wait a minute, what did I say? So I started like going back to my recordings and trying to listen to it. I usually listen to myself on my way home, but that night I was just so high from everything that had gone on. I haven't done anything, but just like, and then next thing I know, I wake up and the tweet had 1 million hits. That play of mine that got over 1 million hits.
It was great though. It was a great.
It was. I'm telling you, but what made it the best for me is that before the game, we were in the dugout doing batting practice, and Carlos Baerga and I were sitting there, and John Kensey was sitting on the. You know how the dugout has the benches by the fence, and then it has like another bench in the back, and usually the guys sit in the backrest and put their feet on where the people are supposed to sit, right? And he was just sitting there, and he was kind of like, he looked bummed out. And we went over to talk to him, and then we're like, what's up? He goes, and he was pissed because his father was going to be in the building, and he'd never seen him play, and the lineup had just been posted, and he wasn't in the lineup.
Oh yeah.
So Carlos and I were like, I said to him, listen, it's the playoff, dude. If your name gets called, which will probably, and it won't be to pinch run. So if your name gets called, it's gonna be at a moment where you're gonna have to come up with a stick, right? And Carlos says, like, go out there, do your thing, take your flies, do your thing, whatever. So that's why I was just going like so crazy because it felt like Christmas, man. When the kid hit Christmas. It was just, and it's against the Yankees. And I grew up a Yankees fan, but guess what? The Yankees cost me a lot of money. The Guardians paid me. So it's like, I don't have a problem with the Guardians beating the Yankees. And it was just such a great call. And maybe even better that we were able to win, even with everything that was going on behind the scenes, that now we learn, with a relief pitcher.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. That whole thing, because that night was Manzardo hit a homer.
I remember that.
John Kensey hit a homer, and then Fry hit the winning shot. And then like Fry had promised us a homer before the game. So in my call, I say, he fulfilled his promise. And I came down and I have a video of him saying, that was for you, man. That was all you.
That's awesome.
It wasn't. But it was like, that's the best thing about baseball. You get to be a little closer to the guys than basketball or football. Baseball, you kind of, they love the nicknames I give them, like Luigi Manzardo, love the whole skit with Luigi.
Oh yeah,
and then K-Fuzz, So baseball is because it's more of a feeling. Mm-hmm. It's a long time that I can actually let people know exactly what I'm feeling, as opposed to just But in football, with the Browns, I don't know if you call the Hasta La Vista baby with the 94-yard run by Nick Chubb.
Oh my!
Was that against the Ravens?
Atlanta.
Raiders.
That one went. No, against the Falcons. He did it again in Baltimore against the Ravens. But the first time he did it was against the Falcons here, and it was the rookie.
I remember that. Actually, that was the rookie year, right?
And I'm telling you something, man. Again, this is what I think. Like, I am definitely not a Terminator fan, not even. But for some reason, that's what I saw. That's what I felt. And my booth is right on the end zone, so I could see him just running through that hole that there was in the middle of the field. So I think all of the sports, boxing I have had some really good moments in boxing too. Just Manny Pacquiao knockouts or Oscar De La Hoya, and that's how I started with boxing and UFC. So. It's a different style call, but it's just as good. It feels good to be at that moment. That the reason why I became a sportscaster, because I was a sophomore in college, and I always, even before I even dreamt of being a sportscaster, I always enjoyed watching games and listening to them on the radio.
Yeah.
For some reason, I hated all the talk about where they had dinner the night before and all the stuff that goes on TV, especially on baseball, right? Mm-hmm. And I always listen to it. So I was listening to Jack Buck on the radio and watching the game on TV. And I remember feeling that night what he said exactly what I was feeling and thinking. Like, I don't believe what I just saw when Kirk Gibson hit that homer
Yeah.
the next day with no knees against Dennis Eckersley. And I always said, like, man, I wish I had that moment. Like, that guy, that has to be the coolest thing, to be able to be watching the game with a mic on and just express what you're feeling, right? And that moment came for me like that personal in Game 7 of 2016 when Kyrie hit the shot. Because I have called a lot of championship, a lot of Super Bowls, a lot of Final Four, boxing and everything, but I was never really invested as I am now with the Cavs, being part of the organization and seeing them work every day. So it was different. And I was like, that was my Jack Buck moment, man. And I got to meet the man, and he was the coolest dude. He treated me like I was his grandson.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, he was really, really cool dude. His son is not, but his father was like the father is a really cool dude.
Rafa, I got a question for you. So, in all of your experience, obviously traveling for all these games, traveling with other teams, and I'm sure that Jack and I were obviously high school broadcasters. Jack did some in college, but did you have any interactions with any of the other, like, more, I guess, like extremely well-known broadcasters, like a Mike Breen, like a Kenny Albert, or anything like that, and just all your time with going to all these games?
Yeah, I try to look for the guy. Mike Green is a cool guy too, by the way. Like, I don't want to tell you I know him, but anytime I can be able to sit down with him, to me, my experiences was with Ian Eagle and and Billy Raftery. They were both the voices of the New Jersey Nets in the late 90s when I started doing. That was my first NBA team, and they, by Billy Raftery and Ian Eagle, they both do the Final Four now for CBS now that Jim Nantz retired. So those two guys were really my go-to guys, and the guys that I would bother, and they still to this day, I always make sure I go down and say hello to Ian Eagle when we share the spot, and because they treated me like, I was a guy that was a fly on the wall and just trying to learn from, I knew who they were, so I was just trying to learn like tips on how to prepare yourself for a broadcast and stuff like that. So Ian Eagle and Billy Raftery are the two guys. I always admire Bob Costas and Jim Nantz. That's who I wanted to follow, because I never wanted to marry myself to one sport. I purposely, and when I was in New York where I started, every Latino wanted to do soccer, and every Dominican and Puerto Rican was doing baseball. So I started with boxing. That was the sport that nobody was touching, and it was, that's where I learned my broadcasting skills. But after that, like, I never call a soccer game because I don't see it as fast as they call it. And I'm a fan of the World Cup, but I'm not a fan of the regular games every day. And just, it's just, I hate all the antics and all they give each other fair play prizes, but they all this, like, faking injuries. And then, like, I'm not a fan, but I am a fan. I have covered World Cups, but I've never called the game. I haven't tried either. I would love to do any Olympic event. I think that would be, if I could do like a speed skating event, or in the Winter Olympics. I'll even go to the mountains and do the biathlon and all stuff. But that would be just like for real. And the only thing I'm missing, and it's something that I would really be thankful for, if I ever get to do a Stanley Cup final.
That'd be the coolest.
Finals.
Gosh, yeah.
That's the only final I've never done. I've done hockey, but I have never done the Stanley Cup, and I've done all the other sports. And that would be, to me, and if it's the Canadians in the final, it would be.
That's what I was gonna say. Get the Habs in
even better. Yeah, if it's the Habs, oh man, I never been a.
You can't wear the sweater while you're calling the game, though.
Yeah, of course. I never hide it. People always say in this business, people say, "Oh, you can root for any team." I'm like, bullshit. People do what we do because they're fans of the sport. And I grew up a Yankee fan. I grew up a Celtics fan. And obviously different relationships now. And like I said, they cost me a lot of money. And the Cavs pay me and sign me to 2-week contracts, So I don't have a problem saying I'm a fan. That's why I'm in the business. But hey, if I was to do, like, even if you let me do a game between the Bruins and the Canadians at Center Bell, that's it. I'm retiring.
I want to go to a game there so bad, but we'll get you out of here in a sec, Rafa. I have heard that the atmosphere in Montreal is unlike anything else in sports.
No, there's no such thing. And I'm
Have you
telling
been
you,
to a
even
game
like yeah, many games.
Oh, really?
When I covered the UFC, we used to work in Montreal a lot. And I'm telling you, the MSG, there's no comparison. There's no even close first when it comes to basketball games. Basketball games are great. Rangers games are great in the playoff. And I remember being there in 1994 when they won the
guarantee.
It's almost 40 years already. Remember, there was a sign that says 40 years. I can die in peace now. It's been almost 40 years again that they won a title. But
it ain't coming soon either.
Yeah, especially because they fired Queenie. They're never gonna get.
Yes, our boy.
They got the Queenie curse, but it doesn't compare like basketball and hockey. But at Center Bell, man, it's just the media section is the best because it's a ring on top of the ring, so you sitting and just looking down at the ice. So it's another thing. We gotta go. We gotta make a road trip, man.
Raf, I'm in. You let me know when we will be there.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, let's plan. Let's do a road trip.
Yes,
I still got connections.
Yeah,
I gotta send you my picture I have at the Hockey Hall of Fame. They have like a statue of kids in the thing, I kind of like alter the statue for my picture. So I gotta send it to you so you check it out.
Yes, please do. Rafa Hernandez-Brito, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us, Rafa. I know we had a blast, and we'll get you out of here. We'll be back sometime real soon.